What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. I hope y'all been having a great day. Here to break down what looks to be a very active end to April. There's two systems to talk about, one being the one this weekend that could really actually deliver some beneficial rain, but there's going to be the chance of severe storms with it too. I don't think there's going to be any kind of outbreak of storms this weekend, but there's a bigger one that's really starting to show up on all forms of models. It looks like the potential for an outbreak if the models right now were to come into friction. So we definitely can't throw the word out there too much because we don't know what's going to happen. But some of the main operational runs like the European and the GFS definitely suggest an outbreak of storms, maybe the first significant outbreak for the south central U.S. and the Midwest, as it looks like a big time Flex and Cape will definitely ride north out of, into the Midwest. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider subscribing. Like the video. It helps to get my video out there. So definitely hit that like button, guys. It's much appreciated. You guys have been amazing. And definitely, if you watch the videos and you have not committed to hitting subscribe, definitely consider doing that. We have a great family atmosphere here, everybody who watches, and I appreciate every single one of y'all for sure. Also, if you have anything that I can pray about, anything that anybody else in the comments could pray about, definitely drop it in here. We got people who do that. We all look out for each other here, so definitely do that. Prayer is powerful. You guys have showed that by praying for me and helping me through these tough times, because it was really, with the situation that happened to me over the weekend with the engine blowing in my car, it was really a faith tester, and I was able, to get through it thanks to the prayers for everybody. So thank you all for everything, and let's get going here because there's a decent bit to talk about here. Storm Prediction Center, there's a 15% chance at day 4. So this is Friday into Saturday. So this is basically going to be a chance for kind of a dry line setup in Texas. Dry line is basically a sharp boundary between very moist air and very dry air, and it kind of wobbles back and forth. And storms like to fire up right along that boundary and then obviously move more into the moist area. They're not going to form and then move the other way into the dry area because that's more stable air. But this is where storms can fire up right here and then move east. And so this is kind of that threat here. So there's going to be a chance for some isolated supercells to form in this area. So we'll have to see how it happens. But check it out. They have now a day 5. So a 15% chance of severe weather in this area. And, this is closer to the Carolinas. This is into Georgia. This is along the Gulf. But the reason it's so south is because just model guidance really isn't liking the warm front lifting very far with the cold front. So you basically have the cold front and then the warm front kind of lifting. How far north is it going to lift? You need that severe weather is going to occur in that sector right here where you have moist and warm air. And I don't see a big time warm sector. It's going to be there, but it's not going to be a ton of warm air. So I don't think we're going to have a tornado outbreak this weekend or anything like that. I do think there's going to be some big time storms, maybe a big time hail threat. But we'll see what materializes. But this is day 5, and it's all the way into the Gulf. This area has already seen some nasty storms, some huge hail with some storms with a line of storms that happened several days ago. So this is definitely something we need to watch out here. As we're going to look at the GFS, and bear with me because I'm going to use Pivotal a lot here in a second. So y'all bear with me here. Pivotal, it lags, and it's just a site that I'm still trying to figure out. But here we go. We get into Friday. And this is the first system. First off, I've been mentioning a lot that we have been a lack of rain here in certain areas of the southeast. I live here in Lexington, South Carolina, and I've said it in every single one of my videos. I'll just say it again. Sorry for getting annoyed, but we've had 7/100ths of an inch of rain in April. That is 0.01. That's not even a tenth of an inch of rain for all of April. One of the driest. In fact, people's yards are starting to get green at the beginning of April and things like that, and it's starting to look like we're in a midsummer drought out there. All the yards in my neighborhood are starting to kind of lose that green tint to it, and it's starting to look very, very dry out there, and it looks kind of like hay, honestly. So I definitely will say that if you're an area that has not seen a lot of rain, I think this system is going to give a lot of people a lot of rain. I think the deep south is going to get a lot of rain, the mid-south, and this is going to be more of a consolidated chunk of rain with embedded thunderstorms. I think it's definitely, as the more further north you go, the chance that you're going to get more into just a just a consistent moderate to heavy rain. It's not going to be a lot of storms with some embedded thunder and lightning. But down here in this section right here, where you have a warm sector, and this could trend more north. The European had it a little bit more north, but it's just lacking some ingredients for it to be a big time severe weather outbreak. But I think there is a chance in Texas. So this moves on out, and then there's another one that comes here, and this is the big dog right here. This is the big storm system. The low pressure, cut off low pressure kind of right here gets going, and then it shoots up here, and then it kind of goes way up here. But just the drastic shift that it happens here, this is going to explode some storms right here. You're going to get a low-level jet that forms here. You're going to get there's a potential for a tornado outbreak. You're going to get strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, 60 to 7 knot lower level jet. You're probably going to get a decent amount of low-level shear. You're probably going to get cape that builds all the way up into here, all the way up into Oklahoma, maybe Kansas, and things like that. So we're going to watch to see what happens. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here, but I don't know how this is going to materialize as we get into the Carolinas. If this thing shoots all the way up here, you lose some forcing. You lose some big-time ingredients for basically thunderstorms, and you might just get some kind of weak storms that kind of pass through, but it's kind of hard to know that. Well, I do want to show you, as far as how much precipitation we're going to get, just looking at the GFS, that is a swath of a few inches of rain all the way from East Texas all the way into the Carolinas. So beneficial rain, I really think. It sucks it's going to happen on the weekend, but we'll take it honestly at this point. So you look at the European model, and this is heights. The blue represent the negative heights. The warmer colors represent the positive heights. So basically, the negative heights is troughing or low pressure, cutoff lows, what may you have, and this is a big time trough digging into the eastern U.S. That's why we're going to have a really chilly morning as we get into Thursday morning, because we'll have a trough in place, a big time trough. It's actually the one that's delivering snow for areas like Missouri, Illinois, and things like that, Ohio, Indiana. So, but this is the big system right here that's going to deliver a big time system this weekend for some severe weather. But this is the really big one. This flat out gets cut off here, and a big time severe weather threat has a chance to explode right into here. And this could be the first significant severe weather outbreak for this area, besides that one way back in early March that was really kind of isolated and discrete into one little area. But this could be a big time outbreak for potentially for the Midwest. So we'll watch this in the south central U.S. So we'll kind of watch how this develops, and we'll watch how this low pressure kind of handles this area right here and where it's positioned, and that will tell us what we're going to have for the southeast. Because if it shoots way up here, the southeast, that severe weather threat is not going to, kind of follow its lead and go east. I really don't think so. We're going to switch over here to pivotal weather and look at a couple things here. So this is kind of what the European is showing as you're getting through here in time. We're moving through, and this is the big time system right here. So we're going to have to figure out what this is going to do. The European has the low pressure actually a little bit more south than it did, say, this time yesterday. So it really it brings a lot of heavy rain. But down here, you look at kind of soundings down here in the panhandle of Florida and southern Alabama. If you pull up decently quick, that your hazard's a tornado. But dew points are high. They're in the 60s. The actual surface temps not very high. You got a tick of capping in place, so you might get some individual cells out there that get going. You have like some straight lines on the photographs, so that means to me that kind of tells you that you might have a little bit of a hail threat. But we'll watch, and it even shows up here some significant hail showing up maybe 1 to 2 inches. All that doesn't really matter until we can get a little bit closer in the range of this. But usually straight photographs tell me there's going to be a hail threat, and that kind of reflects here in the sound analogs. But you got some cape in place, so a little bit, not a lot. But they're definitely down here in the extreme kind of areas of the Gulf, and this might trend further into the Carolinas, maybe further up into Atlanta. We just don't know. We're going to know a good bit more tomorrow, I think. But this gets going here, and this is a big-time weather maker. And if you got any outdoor plans for the weekend, I think this system's really going to ruin it all for basically a big chunk of the eastern U.S. So I know some people just don't care about rain. To me, I love doing yard work stuff, and I do care about rain. Even though I do have an irrigation system, there's nothing quite as good as rainwater. But this is definitely going to be a big system, and then this one pops off. I mean, this look to me screams individual supercell tornadic storms. I mean, even on the operational European, it looks kind of scary. It looks like some kind of dry line might set up, and then it might turn into maybe all of a sudden a big line of storms, whether that's a squall line, whatever it happens. But this is a scary little setup right here. I don't know if I got the right section. I just kind of clicked it real quick, but some marginal setups here. But this is something we have to watch out here. Let's go on to click the next thing right here. Talking up a storm here. I did not really want this video to go quite this long, but there's just a lot to talk about because I really think we're going to get super active here. This is dew points. I talk about it all the time. The good dew points are a great thing to look at when you're trying to figure out what weather pattern you have in place. Obviously, you get to Wednesday evening into Thursday morning, the entire country looks really stable, meaning you have dry air almost everywhere except for far areas of South Texas and southern tip of Florida where the front does not clear. It's a big time trough, but as the trough goes on and gets on out the way, high pressure gets on out the way, you have a moist flow that begins to develop and build in Texas along a dry line that probably gets going. And check out the dry line setup right here. That's what I'm talking about with the dry line. Dew points in the 20s right here and then 60s right here in Texas in a very short, very small area. Somebody right here probably as we get into Friday night into Saturday and overnight hours, you're probably going to get some supercells popping up in Texas, maybe Oklahoma, and it's going to get very active. This is going to shift as low pressure begins to shift east, and you're going to have a moist sector that really builds here. Dew points are going to rise into the 60s, and it's just going to be a humid, wet weekend for the deep south for sure, and even up into the mid-south. And then a little bit of some front comes through behind that, but it doesn't last long, and then you have big time moist sector that rises all the way up into the upper Midwest according to the operational European model. And this it's not, for one thing, it looks like a big time severe weather outbreak. It's another thing because it's such a large area. This is a lot of Gulf moisture that really rises into the central part of the country. So to me, this has that classic look of a big time severe weather outbreak for the Midwest. But look at this dry line. Holy cow. Dew points in the 60s right here. Dew points in the single digits in Amarillo. It's ridiculous. But it just happens out there. And then dew points are getting to the 60s almost all the way into the upper northern part of Minnesota. It's incredible. But then it shifts here, and we just get a lot of humid air. We'll see what happens after that. So it's kind of hard to tell. But I think the next one is just going to be shear. So it really gives us an idea of where the low-level jet sets up here. And let's really just focus on, you get a little bit going on here. We get a little bit of shear going on here, but let's really look at this next system as we get into early next week. This is a big time low level jet that gets fired up over here. Winds are screaming in the upper levels in the atmosphere. You got a little bit of spin in the atmosphere, and it just really looks ominous for sure. I think the last two frames I got up here is maybe the NAM, but yeah, the NAM for this event coming up this weekend, to me, that looks like definitely some supercells for sure in Texas as we get into Friday night. Maybe some photogenic supercells. Maybe they'll happen out in the middle of nowhere where it doesn't cause a lot of issues with hail and things like that. But then you get later into the run and look at the cape that builds all the way into the nation's midsection, rising big time all the way up here. I would love to chase this if it wasn't slap dab in the middle of the week and wasn't halfway across the country. But I think a lot of chasers are going to get some good action with this one if it materializes. And hopefully it's out in the middle of nowhere And if this happens, it will be where, we don't get no tornado outbreaks in a very dense populated area. But it's pretty much all I got. I'll show you this last thing. This kind of tells me, again, the supercell composite parameter, that there's going to be some isolated supercells in parts of Texas Friday into Saturday. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll keep you updated on what looks to be a very active end to the month.